Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into today's masterclass. All of you are very, very, very welcome to Kylas X MyOperator MSME Growth Masterclass on RevOps. Sonam Biswal, the Chief Revenue Officer of Kylas. Sonam is a revenue-oriented professional with over 15 years of experience across brand management, consulting, sales, and innovation in organizations like Novartis, McKinsey, and Alliance. She has proven her mettle across industries and is an expert at product launches and business transformation. Sonam is currently the Chief Revenue Officer at a tech startup where her key focus is establishing Kylas as a go-to sales CRM for MSMEs across India. She is known for her people skills, sense of humor, and of course, the ability to get work done. Please give a huge round of applause to also our second speaker, Shivam Dikshit, the Director, Enterprise Sales, MyOperator. Shivam has spent over a decade working in the global communication tech space. He's passionate about helping organizations of all sizes to improve their top and bottom revenues. He's spearheading enterprise sales at MyOperator and helping marquee brands to create high ROI, sharp and meaningful use cases. Another thing about Shivam is passionate about solving the problem of illiteracy in India and also loves playing chess in his free time. So thank you so much, speakers, for joining us today, for giving us this time. And yeah, you guys can get started.
Thanks, Chainika.
Thanks for the introduction, Chainika. Hi, folks. I'm Shivam. And before beginning this masterclass, I have a few requests. I hope let's make this a more collaborative. So the first one is, of course, let's make this a more collaborative thing. Let not me be the only speaker. If you have any thoughts, any questions, please feel free to shoot them directly into the chat box. Second thing is, I just want to understand if there is someone who does not understand Hindi here. Can they type in the chat box if there is someone who does not understand Hindi? If we find someone who does not understand Hindi, then we'll take this in English. Otherwise, I might switch on to English mode because that's more appropriate for MSMEs in this side of the country. And third is it's a disclaimer. So RevOps is a complex topic and also a pretty generic topic. So whatever I'll be sharing would be from my limited experience of managing customers ranging from startups to Fortune 500 companies and specifically MSMEs. So these customers throughout the journey that I have seen, I have learned and I have imbibed, it's only that I would be able to share. In case you have a conflicting point of view with respect to certain deep aspects in a specific sector, would be happy to take that also. We'll be happy to accommodate, always happy to have conflicting point of views. So feel free to shoot again in this chat box. And last of all, whatever questions that we need answers in yes and no, that would do for me. So let's keep this let's keep this a collaborative thing. So let's begin. Can we share the screen, Chainika?
Perfect. So can we begin?
Yeah.
Okay. So now we come to growth challenges for MSMEs. So I've worked with over 100 MSME in personal capacity also, and I have seen their journeys very, very. I've seen the journey very clearly and from very near, and these are some of the broad challenges that I have jotted down that I think are major roadblocks for their growth. So Chainika, can we move to the first one? Okay. So the first is no clear vision for team alignment. What does that mean? I mean, let's begin with not confusing it with the vision of the company. A company has a certain vision and everybody understands that. But what is being told here is an in principle disalignment between the departments. तमाम तरीके के डिपार्टमेंट्स हैं कंपनी के अंदर, उन डिपार्टमेंट्स में आपस में ही अलाइनमेंट नहीं है. वो एक बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज है, क्योंकि until and unless you have that kind of alignment, the holistic vision of the company cannot be fulfilled. So that's the first challenge. The second one is, Chainika? Okay. Lack of data driven decisions. Very interesting. तो मैंने ना अपने exposure में मैंने क्या किया है कि I have categorized the MSMEs into two buckets. The first bucket is who does not have data, well maintained data. First bucket does not have well maintained data and they don't know what to do with it. The second bucket has well maintained data, but they do not know what to do with it. So most of the MSMEs are not able to derive meaningful insights from the data that is there. If it's there or if it's not there, in both the cases, they are not able to derive the value that the data can. So that's another, and that's a major roadblock for their growth. Let's move on to the third one. So bumpy and long sales cycle. Achha, so MSMEs are littered with stories of confusing sales cycle that are excruciatingly long and more stagnant because of internal factors rather than the external ones. So ये मतलब self-explanatory है. ज़्यादातर MSMEs they have a complex sales cycle with too many vanity levels, vanity elements in the funnel that does not actually make sense. So we will probably look at that later. We can move to the fourth point. Okay, inefficient use of tools and technology. So okay, so here's one of my favorite quotes. And okay, so here's a disclaimer. This is my personal quote only. So it's not about using 10% of 10 different tools. Instead, it's about using 100% of one single tool. What most of the MSMEs are doing is tool hopping. We call it software hopping or tool hopping. So let us say somebody wants to create a daily sales report, or let's say a TDL, a to-do list, or a simple worksheet. What happens? You have multiple options. You can use Asana, you can use Trello, you can use Evernote, you can use a simple Excel sheet, or you can use a pen and paper. The challenge is every 6 months or a year's time, these companies, most of the MSMEs, whatever comes to them, they hop, and the change management aspect does not get conveyed fully. What happens with enterprise that there is a specific segment of change management which makes sure that the 100% of the organization onboards to a single tool that is being used. So if a SaaS or a Salesforce is deployed, then it is made sure that 100% of the people in the organization, all the sections, subsections are using it. But with MSMEs, this does not happen because most of the time the decision makers are too busy themselves to attend to these challenging. Okay. So can we have the last one? Okay. Uneven customer experience. Abhi, I'm not sure how many of you are being pestered by spam calls or offer barging. So I know one thing for sure. Offer barging and spam calls or repeated telecalls will only get you two things. First is a spam grade rating in Truecaller, and the second one is classic abuses with 1-star rating in Google reviews. I mean, if you go and check Google pages of different MSMEs who've tried this, I mean, people are so innovative with their thought process. They can do anything. So they have crafted beautiful abuses and they have put it there live with their profile pic beside that. So that happens. So again, coming back, my question is, does anyone in the audience can relate to the challenges that are mentioned here? Can I have a yes or a no? Simple yes and no, nothing else. Okay. Tarun is yes and Bhavesh is also yes. English is fine. लेट्स मिक्स इन, हाँ ठीक है, हिंदी इंग्लिश मिक्स करते हैं। और बस 2 ही 3 लोगों के इश्यूज हैं, क्योंकि इसी का सोल्यूशन बताने जा रहे हैं भाई, अपना और हमारा समय बचाएं। Okay, so anyways, let's continue. What would happen if these challenges are not solved? ठीक है, तो आप ना अपने मन से एक बार let's do one thing, internalize करिए। Let's take 1 minute's time to internalize what would happen if these challenges are not solved. And please, if you can write what exactly you think would happen, बहुत ज्यादा पूरा पैरा लिखने की जरूरत नहीं है, एक सिंपल स्टेटमेंट या 4 शब्द में भी आप बताना चाहें, if you want to explain it 4 words or a sentence, that's fine. Please internalize and write. The best answer might get a hamper. Okay, and also don't go by the photo that's there. Though it's pretty much relevant, but just don't go by the photos that's there. Anyone having any ideas? What are the challenges? What would happen if these challenges are not solved? Okay, guys. We have, okay, are we moving? We had 10-15 more seconds. ओके, मैं बताता हूँ क्या नहीं होता है। चलो आप लोग, ठीक है, इसको हम लोग इस तरीके से ले लेते हैं 1 to 1। सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट चीज जो एक एमएसएमई को चाहिए होती है, वो एमएसएमई का टैग हट के एंटरप्राइज बन जाए, वो लार्ज एंटरप्राइज, ठीक है, वो नहीं आता है, बिकॉज द स्केल एंड ग्रोथ एसोसिएटेड is directly associated with these functions. Second thing what happens is when competition seeps in, they stab you multiple wounds and they kill you by that. बहुत अलग अलग तरीके से competition seep in करते हैं, and if you are not organized, you are dealing with these kinds of growth challenges, you would be one of the first to get killed. The third is industry relevance. With the advent of technology, every 10 years, among us businesses are being washed down the drains. Everybody has examples of companies like Nokia and this and that has now gone down the drain. So industry relevance is also directly linked to these key growth aspects, because once you are in control of these, you can at the right time take a turn with the relevance of that particular time frame. But what happens with most MSMEs, they are so busy struggling with their own internal challenging, the day-to-day operational and tactical challenges they are so busy solving, that they forget to have a strategic overlook. They forgot to have a strategic viewpoint on how things are managed. They actually do not have a understanding at a macroscopic level how their industry would evolve, because they are solving problems of today. They are not looking at the challenges of tomorrow. And in this they die. That's very sad, but that's the reality. I mean, that happens. So if you don't want to die, stay listening to us. And if you want to get rid of these, I'll tell you how. So what happened in early 2000s? Some businesses in America, they started to understand these are MSMEs only. That they started to understand that if they are able to streamline multiple departments, they would be able to improve their top line and bottom line revenues drastically. And so they gave birth to a function called RevOps. Now can we move to the next slide, Chainika? So RevOps, what does RevOps do? RevOps actually में इतना ज़्यादा typical है नहीं. RevOps, let's not go by the fancy name, right? It's a fancy American name. इसको हम लोग ना अपनी हिंदी में समझते हैं क्या है. So essentially RevOps is a core. वो एक तरीके से it's a core around which the rest of the important functions rotate. It's a fulcrum around which marketing, sales, support, all the revenue generating functions would rotate of the organization, and it's kind of a single most important function wherein you have an entire customer journey. अभी क्या है कि मार्केटिंग क्या कर रहा है कि सबको स्पैम कर रहा है, जो लीड आ रही है उसमें से कुछ सेल्स के पास जा रही है, सेल्स जो है उसमें से किसी को देख रहा है, किसी को नहीं देख रहा है, क्या हॉट है क्या वॉर्म है कुछ नहीं, सबको धड़ाधड़ कॉल कर रहा है, उसमें से कुछ अगर कन्वर्ट हो रहे हैं तो कस्टमर ऑनबोर्ड हो रहे हैं, सपोर्ट के पास जा रहे हैं, सपोर्ट वाले अपने हिसाब से उनको डील कर रहे हैं. However, RevOps impresses on this particular thing that if you create a single customer journey spanning across all the important revenue generating functions like marketing, sales and support. So for example, अगर एक कस्टमर के नंबर से कॉल आया है या एक इंटरेस्ट आया है मार्केटिंग के पास, can the same number be used for all the conversation and a story can be created around that particular customer? And how each of that function is adding value in this entire story is what RevOps sit and watches. So RevOps is like a department above all departments. It sees everything कि चल क्या रहा है. So there are multiple ways to implement RevOps, and I have broadly told you about क्या है RevOps, how it happens. Now I would hand it over to Sonam, who's a dear friend and also one of the celebrated people from the startup industry. She has been heading revenue for Kylas, so she is the right person to tell you how this happens. क्या अच्छा जाने से पहले एक चीज बताइए, do you understand हो क्या रहा है, why this is happening, yes or no? You understand what is RevOps? You understand, right? Anyone? Yes and no, guys. So I'll take this as a yes. Over to you, Sonam.
Thanks, Shivam. Thanks for the introduction. Okay, I'll just stay on this slide for a minute, Chainika. So like Shivam said, RevOps is the function that sits on top of the marketing ops, sales ops, and customer service ops, right? And RevOps has its own overall strategy for the organization. This would ideally be something that the management or the leadership want to own. And this is what they want to drive in the organization. So they might have a separate RevOps function. अब ये possible है कि सबके पास ये resources नहीं होंगे to have a separate RevOps function, which is okay. Let's say the owner or the CXO level or the management of any organization wants to create it, they can also run it separately. It does not have to be a separate function as such. Let's say if you don't have the resources. यहाँ पे आपको अगर दिख रहा है, marketing team obviously is taking care of the strategy part, the content, the creatives, what is the communication that will go out. So that is one touch point. They cover all the possible touch points that the customer will have. Sales, of course, is doing all the qualifying, the closing, the negotiation part, the onboarding of the client. फिर आपका customer service is taking care of all the support issues or the onboarding issues that the customer might face. What is the feedback that's coming back from the market? Then if let's say we have clients who like the product, are they doing the advocacy part of it? So getting any kind of referrals, getting reviews, ratings, all of this is taken care of by customer service. So all three departments have their own ops, and they all have, like Shiva mentioned, they all have their own strategies, they have their own plans, they have a certain way of working. And generally, MSMEs always have this in silos. Actually, a lot of larger enterprises also have it in silos. So unless you have something like a RevOps function or a person responsible for RevOps who's looking at the overall strategy. Now, the most interesting thing is, like Shiva also mentioned, RevOps is not something out of the world, rocket science nahi hai. This is something that we've been doing it in different ways. We have just not looked at it in a very systematic way. We have not looked at it as a systematic one-place framework. So RevOps kya hai? If you look at the next slide, Chainika. If you can just go back, sorry, just go back. Okay, so RevOps, let me just tell you one more thing. The most important part is all of it is focused on the customer at the center, right? So starting, if you map the entire customer journey, your RevOps is sorted right there. So starting from your first touch point of what the customer saw, आपके किसी social media के page पे कुछ था content, या फिर they saw one of your ads, Then the sales team has approached them, they've had a call, they've done a demo, they've done some level of meeting, some engagement has happened, follow-ups have happened, and then the client has been onboarded. So if you map the entire customer journey, your RevOps follows the same journey. So let's say the organization has a strategy of growing 20% revenue quarter on quarter. Let's say. So आपका 10 लाख का revenue था quarter का, उसको 12 लाख करना है. So what you do streams you can generate. अब revenue streams could be that you have product A, you have product B, and दोनों को bundle करके you can sell product A, product B and get that 20% additional. Let's say that's your product C, that's a separate offering. अब ये product C को commercialize कैसे करना है? That itself is something that a RevOps can answer because it sees across the channels, it maps across the customer journey. It does not look at just, marketing में हम ये ads चला दे देंगे तो हो जाएगा, sales में pitch change कर दिया या discount दे दिया तो हो जाएगा, या फिर हमने team से तो वो हो जाएगा. ऐसा नहीं है, it has to be the entire chain put together. If you can go to the next slide. Okay, so very simply, how do you set up RevOps for your organization? You start with a very clear strategy. The way I said, let's say your objective or your strategy is to get to a 20% additional revenue quarter on quarter. Now, what you do is you map out the entire process. You look at which are the teams and team members that are going to work on this. What are going to be their KPIs? What are the metrics you're going to track every team for? And separately, if you can build a RevOps function, what exactly are the metrics that they will be responsible for? So basically, it is creating a strategy and a plan on how to get this through. The second part, of course, is creating cross-functional team and communication channels. The first thing is to avoid any kind of silos. So if you are talking about 20% additional revenue, those revenue streams, those additional revenue streams will require everyone's cooperation. So let's say आपने marketing में ads बढ़ा दिए, but at the same time आपने sales team को align किया नहीं है. You have not set up separate time, separate slots, separate script for handling the customers. Then you might lose customers there. So there you have one gap. Then separately, आगे जाके, let's say your onboarding team is not ready for this flow of customers that is coming in. Onboarding fail होता है, then your customers will also leave. So then at the end of the day, that chain is broken at various places. Then you will never get to that 20% additional revenue. And that is where the challenge is. So cross-functional teams and communication channels are critical to getting this done. Like I said, standardizing processes, like learning from best case practices across organization. How do you exactly establish those processes within teams, and then you set them up at a RevOps level? That is important. And the most important point, even though it's the last, is where it all starts. You create a customer-centric culture. You basically map your entire journey as per how the customer interacts with you, starting from the first ad to him becoming a referral for you. The entire RevOps journey can be mapped just basis this. So always keep the customer at the core. So like I said, there's nothing new that has been created. There's nothing new that exists in RevOps. It is just a very systematic way of putting down all your teams together. It's a systematic way of putting down your processes, systematic way of mapping your strategy and your plan and making sure it's a fail-proof plan. And if you see, if the topic that we're also covering today for the webinar is how to create that level of predictability for your sales, right? Foolproof plan kaise banana hai so that you get to your sales. The visual thinking is out. So one thing that we will try and cover in this webinar is we will try and focus more on sales ops, and we will not look at RevOps because RevOps would include marketing, would include CS ops, and that will take a lot of time to cover. So we'll deep dive into sales ops and make sure, and that's a critical part of RevOps, right? That's where most of your revenue is coming. And we'll double down on how exactly we make all of this foolproof. The next one. The difference in RevOps, of course, like Shivam had mentioned earlier, RevOps is core to sales, marketing, and service ops. If you can see that diagram right there. And on the right side is what we're going to cover today specifically, which is sales ops. Now, sales ops, obviously, a lot many of you have exposure to this. It will focus on how do you manage your deals, how do you do your territory planning or target setting, how do you do your sales forecasting, आपके tools क्या use करते हो आप, how exactly will you train your department, how will you do the development. So all of that is included in sales ops. So we'll do a little bit of a deep dive on sales ops because it's critical to getting those numbers. So just a meme here for you. What this indicates is the prospect basically is saying, call me back in 6 months. What is the sales guy taking away from this? You're telling me there's a chance. Mana nahi kiya, chance hai. chance है, but 6 महीने बाद का है. You can't include this deal in your forecast for this month or for the quarter. That's what the meme is all about. So the focus is on, if I have to get predictable sales for this month, if I have to get 10 lakhs for this month, how do I make sure that happens? So that we'll cover in the next slide. So it's all about, the focus is all about removing the guesswork from your forecasted sales. When you get into analyzing your deals, I know many, especially when we have been junior salespeople or you are up against a target and they're stressed and it's all about getting to a certain number. So kahin na kahin, this wishful thinking creeps in. And so even if the client is giving you clear directions or signals, like you saw in the previous meme, you're still thinking that, you know what, this might convert. But that wishful thinking is what actually creates that gap in your forecast for that particular month. So let's say I'm a sales manager. I've got 5 sales people under me. Each one has a target of 10 lakhs, 10 lakhs. So 50 lakhs का मेरा target है. Team का 10 lakhs each का. ये 10 lakhs में से 3 लोगों का 6 लाख का target, मतलब 18 lakhs, is based on deals like this, जो अभी दिखाया meme में. Where the client has said, हाँ मैं बात करता हूँ आपसे. He's not given any clarity, but you're counting that in your forecasted sales. So what happens is you almost look at it as 18 lakhs out of my 50 lakhs as a sales manager, I'm actually not sure of. It has gone into some level of wishful thinking. There is some level of guesswork. So obviously that is where the predictability doesn't happen. So you're committing to a 50 lakhs, but you're landing up only at a 30 or a 32. So when you're looking at your deal analysis, you look at something what we call band. Now there are multiple different other ways of frameworks to basically qualify a deal or qualify a certain lead, right? So this is band, this is simple, this is accepted by 80-90% of salespeople across the world. B is for budget. Budget is you have to ask the tough question, is this client capable of paying or does he have the ability to spend as much? Second is the authority. The person I'm talking to, is he the POC or the decision maker? Is the decision maker involved in the discussions that I'm having with this particular company? What is the urgency? N for need, what is the urgency of the solution? Is he just exploring? Baad mein dekhega. Maybe he doesn't feel the need for it right now. He saw an ad, he's just come to explore. T is a timeline. Exactly what the meme said. That client might be a qualified lead for you, but if he's looking at buying from you after 6 months, you can't include him in your current sales, obviously. So band is, it's critical that you look at it very carefully, that does he satisfy all the 4 parameters. So there are different viewpoints. There are people who say 3 out of 4 is good enough. बाद में negotiate करके देख लेंगे. So you will have to create your filters in terms of what works, what does not work. Now, one thing that I wanted to highlight, the wishful thinking that we talk about actually has a scientific term called happy years syndrome. So happy years syndrome is when a salesperson basically starts imagining or thinking that, you know what, I have so much stress, I need to get to my targets. So I somehow feel that ये तो हो जाएगा, हो जाना चाहिए तो हो जाएगा. तो उसको happy year syndrome बोलते हैं. Where you're not listening to the client might have objections. The client might be saying, you know what, I'm not buying from you, or I have doubts about your product or service. I'm looking at your competitors. They seem to be a better proposition. You're not listening to any of that because आपको happy year syndrome है. You're thinking मुझे चाहिए तो ये हो जाना चाहिए. But that's where you start creating those gaps in your pipeline. The other thing, of course, is every time you have an analysis of deals, look at the ticket size. There are deals where you might have started the conversation that the client wants to go on an annual plan. It might have moved to a quarterly. Will convert on a month. So the ticket size also starts affecting your total value at the end of the day. Then couple of questions that you need to ask, which are obviously action points. Let's say you're talking to a POC and the decision maker is someone else and it's a large organization. So how can you help the POC to convince the decision maker for the decision? And if, let's say, the client is looking at other competitors, how do you sharpen your value prop in the particular deal? So these are two action points, 2 help points, and point A and B are the litmus test that you need to take every deal through to ensure that this is something that can convert this month, this is something that can convert next month, or this is something that I can look at in my forecast for the quarter. So forecasting is critical, and that is where the predictability starts coming. Now, the reason I've put the sales pipeline here, obviously all of you are aware of what a sales pipeline and at this point a funnel looks like. If you start with, let's say, 100 qualified leads that have come from marketing, or you've done the prospecting, the sales team has done the prospecting themselves, हर stage में there is some loss that happens. यहाँ पे by default I've taken a 70% loss across the pipeline. Last में 20% loss है for the closure. So 100 leads में, let's say you're having a 7% closure ratio. Keep in mind that you have certain ideal numbers that you would want to have at every stage. Something that suits your organization, your product, your sales cycle, and how the market is behaving at a certain point. So mota 70 to 80% hoga ya 60 to 75% hoga, you'll have some ratios or ranges for every single stage. So while you map those ratios, look at every single stage and ensure that you have that kind of pipeline built at every stage. So critical volume is present at every pipeline stage. Because if you don't have 100 qualified leads to start with, you're not going to have 7 closures at the end of the day, no matter how the market behaves. And if you don't have 70 demos at any point, you're not going to get to 7 closures. And this is something that even like we discuss internally and we get to it. Whenever we see a gap in those pipeline stages at some point that these numbers are not matching, we know there is going to be a problem delivering those numbers at the end of the month. And the faster you get to it, the faster you can find some remedial process. That let's say मेरे को 20 lakhs का business करना ही पड़ेगा, यहाँ से फिर नहीं होने वाला, need to figure out some other revenue stream so that I get to numbers. That is when you might want to reach out to your lost leads, you might want to do some kind of upselling, you might want to look at revenue sources from other places. Now for conducting sales reviews, a small checklist that will help you when you're sitting with your sales team and you're trying to do a review, or if you're sitting, let's say you basically head the organization and you've got your sales manager and their team also is sitting through. A couple of things that help. One, of course, is the kind of technology stack you're using. Having a CRM, of course, is at the core of it all. A sales CRM would really help you in terms of analyzing your forecasting your entire sales pipeline, and also understanding where your gaps are. In terms of weekly review, there are, like the stages that I mentioned, it's important that you look at the prospecting that's happening. Now, whether you have a pre-sales team or your sales team is doing the prospecting, you need to ensure that the number of outbound calls, emails, social media touches, accounts or opportunities created are being maintained, because that's at the top of your funnel. If that's not maintained, नीचे का कुछ भी flowing नहीं करने वाला. Now, deal analysis करते वक्त, don't be very eager or don't be very biased to look at only what is going to close in the next week or next month or within a couple of days or within a few days. You have to look at every pipeline stage. So in progress deals होते हैं जहाँ पे you are looking at what exactly has the stage duration been, how long has this deal been sitting here, is this something that's not going to lead to a closure, should I just drop it here. Committed deals are deals which we are tempted to know more about, because this is going to be अभी आने वाला है. 90% of these deals will give me money. Overall pipeline movement भी उसको monitor करना पड़ता है, that if there are deals which are sitting in a, let's say, re-meeting हो गया, multiple demos हो गए, but the client is not moving आगे, it's very possible they are not able to see value. You will have to do other actions to move them down the pipeline, but don't depend on them to be closed in the next month or so. That might not happen. Of course, take an update on last meetings, tasks, and meetings. Any help that the sales team needs, Chainika needs. In terms of sales review cadence, that was your weekly review. Every week you kind of look through your pipeline and how it's going. In monthly review, get your entire sales team together. Couple of things that you should check. One is, of course, look at the deals that you could win that you thought would not be possible. So look at what went right and learn best practices from that. What can possibly be improved? These are deals which you lost. Why did you lose them? Learnings from that. Slip deals are deals that have just moved to next month. So there are learnings there also in terms of how you can create collaterals or content on convincing the decision makers. It could be something about how the competitors behaving in the market and what you need to do to deal with that. And of course, market dynamics. That's something that you also get to know from the team because they are on the ground talking to people. We generally miss out on what we look in is we focus so much on creating that revenue or getting those numbers that we don't pump in back into the team. So try and understand whether the team is moving on the growth path that they have aligned. Look at least 2 to 3 new skills that they can pick up for the quarter, right? So analyze their target versus achievement ratio. what is the average ticket size they're able to convince or get from the customer. Let's say there is a sales guy who's able to do his numbers, but he does more number of deals, the ticket size for each one is smaller. Now, the reason could be that he's unable to convince the customer that, you know what, you can move to a bigger ticket size. He's unable to show that value. He's unable to de-risk the customer. So there are learnings there also. Then the stage conversion ratio. Maybe it's possible that वो schedule करके demo कर लेता है, but उसके बाद close नहीं कर पाता. Close नहीं कर पाता, क्यों नहीं कर पाता? So you basically sit and analyze that part with him. And that helps you get up at least 2 to 3 skills that he should be working on. And then get feedback and then keep learning. Then of course the team will also have things that they can give you feedback on, which can be improved at a team or an organization level. It could be basis marketing, it could be basis how customers should be supported during onboarding, during service, support, क्या support चाहिए, कहाँ पे आप fail कर रहे हैं, market में क्या चल रहा है. There's a lot that you can learn from the team, right? So this is mota how you can run your review meetings. This is how you can analyze your deals. This is how you can bring some level of stringent approach and discipline in looking at your numbers and looking at how the pipeline is moving. So that if you've committed a 10 lakhs, you know you're getting closer to that. And in case you're seeing a failure point somewhere, you identify the red flag and then try and create some other revenue streams. Yeah, that's Shivam. I'll ask you to take over from here. Shivam, you're on mute. Can't hear you.
Thank you, Sonam. Folks, we'll probably see a use case here, of how actually RevOps works for education sector. So it's this particular case study is for the education sector, but that does not mean it cannot be implemented in other sectors. There is another journey for other sectors. We can probably discuss that if you want separately. So let's take case of the education sector. In education sector, let's talk about the segments that are there. There is a K-12 segment, which is right from the nursery to the 12th class. There is a graduation segment. There is a post-graduation segment. However, all the elements in this, all the institutions in these segments generally have two challenges. The first challenge is, where do they get these students from? And the second challenge is, where do they take the student to? So I give an example and tell you. So the first is, let's talk about a coaching institute. Their challenge is how we can get more and more students into our center, and how we can make sure that they go to the best of the colleges, probably IITs or the MBBS colleges. So that's how to get these students and where to send these students. This is first. The second is, let's take example of colleges. Any colleges that is not getting relevant admissions, what happens with them is, they want to see from where the students are coming, how can they market and get more students, and which companies they can place them into. What are the best companies they can place their students to? Can they have 100% placement ratio at their institute? So every in the education sector, broadly, these two problems, where student comes and where he goes. Now for that, what happens, let's take a classic example of a coaching institute, somebody like any coaching institute, of it, Akash or any coaching institute. What happens with them is, they have in the RevOps journey, what ideally should happen, I'll get back to. Presently what happens, they have 3 different functions: marketing, sales and customer support. In marketing, they do outbound campaigns wherein they mass email all the students in that particular age groups as well as the parents of those students. Second is WhatsApp. They do WhatsApp messages nowadays. It's a new fad and everybody is hopping onto the WhatsApp bandwagon. So these guys just blast all the WhatsApp. WhatsApp still is not under the TRAI regulations, so anyone can shoot any message and the spam would not be reported to the government. The third is voice broadcast. What happens with voice broadcast is a pre-recorded message. Now it can also be personalized. So if I pick up my call and I can hear someone saying, "Hi Shivam, I'm speaking from Prakash Institute." you have a scholarship of up to 1 lakh rupees. If you want, press 1. If I press 1, they send a link to my WhatsApp number. So that kind of integration is there. Then there is voice telecalls, wherein people call you, hi, I am XYZ calling from this. These are live calls we are speaking with humans. The third one was a bot call, automated bot call. So these are the categories of outbound campaigns that any of these institutions in this sector does. The sales cycle, however, is very interesting. What happens? Let's take a case of a college. What happens when lead aggregation is there? Now they have 5 to 7 different numbers, phone numbers listed on their website, on their pamphlet, on their prospectus, on their OH out of home advertisement panel. So multiple leads are coming through calls, but what is happening is it is being recorded differently because the numbers are different. Let's say I'm the admin officer, I'm getting a direct call. I like to write the leads in a diary. And let's say I am from the admissions team, and whatever leads comes to me, I'm maintaining it in an Excel sheet. So that is what is happening. The lead aggregation, a single platform where all the leads can be aggregated, is anyways missing, and there is massive leakage happening in the aggregation process. Second is disposition. These people are not able to understand how hot, cold, warm is the lead. How desperate is somebody to enter into the coaching center or the college. So based that, they do not have a disposition of the customers, whether it's a hot lead or a cold lead or whatever disposition terminologies they use. They are not able to segregate that, because once the segregation happens, they know exactly where they have to focus first. If it's a hot lead, I would go directly to the hot lead and close it first, and then probably move to the warm and the cold and the whatever other adjectives there are. Then there is the TAT. The turnaround time for everything is very large. I mean, very excruciatingly large and painful. I mean, if a deal comes to me in, let's say, March, and the admission is due to happen in the month of June, probably I would keep playing with the lead internally. I might again target it for marketing. I might, from the sales section, I can give the data to the marketing team to retarget that lead, even if that has said that I'm interested in doing that. So that kind of goof ups happen a lot. And the fourth point is the closures. The ratio is very poor. For the post sales automation, they have multiple things. They have implemented a WhatsApp bot. A majority of the customers implemented a WhatsApp bot, implemented a chat bot from someone on the website, so that when you type, the chat goes to an agent. If the agent is awake, they might want to reply, they might not want to reply, and basis that you keep on leaving your leads. So these are the present challenges. What RevOps is doing is, it is kind of suing all these three departments and the journey of the customer across these three departments together. So for example, for presently what is happening for managing the outbound campaigns, there are 4 different types of vendors and tools that are being used. For emails, there is a different tool. For WhatsApp, there is a different voice broadcast, different tool. For telecalls, different tools. These all can be integrated into a single tool, into a combination of a single tool with a standardized dashboard, where you are able to probably view all the data that is flowing in. A single business number can be allocated, and only that number needs to be promoted in any and every campaign, outbound campaign that is happening. Now, once that is established, we can move to the sales cycle. The different subsections of the lead generation process anyways gets aggregated if a single number is being used. And on that number, you can enable the feature of voice recording, so that even if 7 different people are using a single number, and the number is being routed in a round robin or sequential, whatever fashion you want, if it is being routed to each of these guys, you have a call recording and you understand which guy is speaking to whom. So that is what happens in how we solve the lead aggregation. The disposition, anywhere, if you are using a good CRM, you already have an option. The lead automatically gets created. Once the call happens, the lead automatically gets created and it gets automatically logged into your system. You just have to feed the name of the lead, and the disposition you can set it right after the call. Right after the call, you can set whether it's a hot, cold, or whether the call is on a phone or it's on a system. So that easy things have become when once you look at a collective journey of a telephony plus CRM focusing on RevOps. That time reduces drastically. We've seen customers who have closed students in as less as 6 to 8 hours. The first inquiry came to the marketing at 9 in the morning. The sales team, it was promptly taken to the sales team. The same number is being used in all the 3 cases. By evening, it was already closed, and the feedback or SMS call, the post-sales automation, the feedback or the SMS, can we just put that? And the feedback and the SMS call was made. Okay, so I hope there is no question. This is fairly easy. Anybody has any questions, guys? Okay, so let's move to the next slide, please. Okay, so this is just so we've served over 10,000 customers in India, as well as different geographies outside India, and right from small startups to MSMEs. Majority, of course, is 60-70% is MSMEs only. Can we move to the next slide? Okay, so Sonam, would you like to take this?
Sure. I think I'll take up the first 2 parts, which I think are the most interesting. The rest you can pick up, Shivam. Okay. So one thing that we want to offer to all of our participants here for the webinar. So Kylas and MyOperator, since we have partnered for MSME Day, the celebrations will continue. One thing that we would like to offer is 51,000 off on your bundled annual plan for Kylas and MyOperator. So if you're interested in sales CRM and you're interested in looking at IVR services, WhatsApp, and the whole the communications platform as such, then you can approach either the Kylas or MyOperator team. We will give you the numbers also to reach out to us, and we can work out some plans for you. So if you're looking for that, so that's the first offer. The other one, of course, is additional credits of almost 1 lakh for our MSME friends here. The other thing that we would also like to give away is a free consultation session on how to set up your RevOps function within the organization. And like I said, if you don't have the resources, you don't need to have a separate RevOps function. It could be something that the organization owner or the leadership or the management own by themselves. And it could be something sitting on top of your remaining functions. I think for the other 2 points, Shivam, like I said, the non-interesting ones you can pick up or lesser interesting.
Yeah. So in case any of you feel that you require hand holding on how to choose the right communication tools, what suits your journey, because everybody's journey is unique. Even in the same industry or the same sector, there are multiple things available, and we would be happy to understand your requirements and suggest you something that would suit specifically your journey, right? And it's not only about the communication tools like Truecaller, WhatsApp, or telephony, chats, SMSs, but also about your sales CRM, which forms the major part of your sales ops. And there's also this was the first of the 3 series webinar in the Masterclass for RevOps. So if you are willing to attend the rest of the tools, there is a certification in RevOps that sponsored by both Kylas and MyOperator that we would bestow upon the attendees, the ones who have attended all the 3. So yeah, so can we move to the next slide? Okay, so Sonam, take this. This is the
Shivam, this is the fun part. You can have it. You can have it.
So guys, there is a Amazon gift voucher worth ₹500 for questions that are to be asked to you. There are only 2 questions. For every correct reply in the chat box, the first correct reply in the chat box for each question will get a ₹500 Amazon gift voucher. So are you guys ready? I'll take this as a yes. So Chainika, can we have the first question? Probably I'll write the answer to that. Okay, what business functions are primarily covered in RevOps? What business functions? I think there are 3 business functions that are primarily covered in RevOps, but can somebody tell us what are these 3 business functions that are covered in RevOps?
I think we have a response already. I think the first person to get it is Tarun, if I'm not wrong. Yes, it's Tarun. Tarun's the first person to respond.
I'm not able to. So Paras is the okay. There's a lot of
Yeah, there's a lot of responses. I think Tarun got it first. So congratulations, Tarun.
Congratulations, Tarun. Okay. So now the second question. Request Tarun not to answer it. You cannot have 2 gifts. You already have a hamper of 500 rupees, Amazon voucher. So the second question is, what does BANT stands for? So Sonam explained this beautifully. Now can somebody recreate the acronym here? First answer gets 500 rupees Amazon voucher, and I am feeling like a daily sales.
That is JBN. If you could give us your full name, please. But I think that's the first response.
Oh, nice.
Okay, Jubin. So it's Jubin. Congratulations, Jubin.
Well done. Anything else that we have? Let's open this up for questions from the audience.
Tarun, we already have the answer. But good, we'll get you your voucher very soon.
Okay. So let's start with question and answer session. Anyone has any questions regarding anything that has been spoken here or specific to your industry that you might need help on, feel free to shoot and we'll try to answer to the best of our capabilities. We've tried to keep this as humorous as possible so that you may not sleep and do not leave the webinar. In case you liked it, also share feedback with us. No questions?
Sorry, just a second.
There's somebody who's raising a hand. Guys, can you please type in the questions?
Hi, sir. What is the costing for this product?
Those are covered. So is that specific to Kylas that you're asking, or is it MyOperator? Is it the bundled offering? If you could be a little more specific, please.
Yes, specific to Kylas for lead management.
Okay, perfect. So I think what we'll do, Tarun, if you can just give us a call on that number, we'll reach out to you right after the webinar.
Sure thing.
Perfect. Thanks, Tarun. We also have Shashank. He's raised a hand, so I think he might have a question. Shashank, if you could just type it down.
Yeah, ma'am. I wanted to know, like,
Yes.
the solution only for pre-sales support, or it also has some post-sales functions?
So what would you like to cover in post-sales?
Form of
Is
application.
it ticketing or is it? Yeah, if you could just explain the use case.
Yeah, it's about customer support, and another one could be having the repository of the applications, in the sense like whoever have enrolled for the program, if we can have a repository of the same.
Okay, I think that would be possible. Shashank, if you can just drop us a call on that number.
Sure.
We'll actually help you explain. We'll explain the use case to you and what can be possibly done.
Okay. Thank you.
Shivam, Mohit would be interested in knowing the bundle price and also the individual prices.
Perfect. Mohit, you have the numbers. For product related inquiries, anyways, we might get in touch with you over WhatsApp. And if you have anything specific to the fundamentals of what has been shared here, that is something probably we can answer if it's required. It's related to the nature of product, the pricing, or you want a demo or something like that. We can take that offline. You have the coordinates. You can probably call us or WhatsApp us, whatever suits you. Any questions, guys?
I think we explained it really well, Shivam. No one has questions.
Yeah.
I'd like to go ahead.
So I'm feeling like my, when I was in engineering, I used to harass the professor like this only. He used to ask every time, any questions, class? And nobody used to say anything. So now I can relate to the feeling. What you used to do. Anyways, fun having you guys here. The time's up. In case you have any questions, feel free to reach out. My name is Shivam Dikshit. I can be found everywhere on social media. If you use LinkedIn, please feel free to get in touch. And otherwise, if you would like to explore our products, just say hi. Happy to help you any which way we can. On that note, Sonam, just if you can say a few words and we can conclude the session.
I think it's the same thing from our end. If you need any product related details or demos or anything, like we shared the numbers, if you can just drop us, if you can just call us there, or we're available at Kylas.io. If you have anything regarding RevOps that you'd like to share, things that you do in your organization that works for you, then we're available on LinkedIn. You can connect with either one of us, and we'll be happy to actually capture that and put that in the next masterclass. Awesome. Awesome. Thanks for being a very patient audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.